The government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish.
Of the people, by the people, for the people.
And that government of the people, by the people, and for the people, shall not perish from the earth.
You know, it's just awfully good that someone with the temperament of Donald Trump is not in charge of the law in our country.
Because you'd be in jail.
Secretary Clinton.
Wednesday evening, peeps. Chris McDonald, Mac Files, number 30. I just love coming in on that best line of the freaking decade by Donald Trump to Hillary Rodham Clinton in the last debate. The current debate just about 2 hours away tonight, the third and final debate between these two, as we are now just 20 days, good grief, just a little over 3 weeks from the election. Actually, it's going to be 3 weeks from today, if you think about it, because it's going to be the first Tuesday in November, yesterday, 3 weeks from yesterday. And it's going to be an interesting time these next 3 weeks, and God knows what's about to come out and what's about to happen here on this dirty campaign that has been nothing short of pathetically filthy. And a lot of that has come from the Democrats, and we're going to talk about that more tonight. We're going to deal with some more video feed that we got today. There was a second video release of this Dem operative that was basically caught on video camera bragging about how the Dems incited violence at the Donald Trump rallies, and they were behind this group, America's United Change for America or something, behind the Chicago incident back in the spring when Trump had to cancel his whole campaign event. We're going to talk about that tonight. We got a few of our facts, not really messed up last night, but we sort of put the cart before the horse. These videos we had was not about the voter registrations being torn up. We will get that video on this week because there is a video out there of voter fraud of guys bragging that they had basically taken the Republican applications and they had torn those up and left all the Democratic applications in place at voting places. And folks, it speaks to just the complete unfairness of this, and you can mock Donald Trump and you can, as President Obama did yesterday, call him whining for it or not, but the truth of the matter is, I don't know if the word rigged is right, but it is an unfair balance right now going up against Trump with the media, with the polling places, with the Democratic machine. It's a very ugly, ugly, corrupt machine that he's dealing with. And if it was not for this man right here on the top of my screen, Julian Assange, who basically was cut off yesterday by our own government. Ecuador did it, but they did it at the request of the United States. His server got cut at the request of John Kerry because, see, his truth is getting out there and it's hurting Hillary Clinton. It's hurting this Dem machine that is so corrupt. And as we enter this final debate tonight, folks, all I can tell you is enter at your own risk. I'm going to do my best to stomach as much of it as I can. I may have to turn it off. But I'm just hoping tonight that Chris Wallace is at least fair to both candidates, at least for one debate out of the three, that she will get just as many hard questions as Donald Trump will. And I know that a lot of people are putting a lot of weight on this debate. And folks, I'm just going to tell you tonight, I don't care whether Donald Trump hits a home run, a grand slam, whatever he does, the dynamics of the race will truly not change a whole lot after this debate tonight. They will change some if he does really well, if he does really poorly. And for him to do poorly, I think, would be something that it would be a big gaffe or him being very rude to her. And I think he learned his lesson from that first debate. And he masterfully handled her this second debate. And I look for him to be on his game tonight. But he's got a lot more information to throw at her tonight than he did even in the second debate. So it's going to be an interesting time tonight. And, the worst that the other side is throwing at him is a videotape and women claiming that he groped him 50 years ago. And I mean, if that's all they've got, folks, that ain't much. Because most American voters out here, those issues there don't affect us as a nation. They may be great to cover. I heard one idiot, and I try to respect the man. I shouldn't say this, but he's on Fox and he's on O'Reilly a lot. He's on Megyn Kelly's program a lot. Sean don't have him as much as he used to, but he always epificates, or he likes to spew his ideas out. He's not a Trump fan, And he's basically putting everything on this debate tonight that short of an act of God or an act of WikiLeaks, that Trump is finished and this is not going to change the needle any, and he's going to have to be perfect tonight, folks. Donald Trump, whether he's perfect or not perfect, he's still going to be Donald Trump after this debate, and we got 3 weeks to go. And that's an eternity in an election, and we're going to talk about that a little bit tonight as we get into our topics. We approached something last night. We don't have any more information on tonight, so we're not going to deal with it more, but we will be dealing with Russia and what she's doing over the next few weeks, and we will be keeping you posted on the video that we showed last night, showing them basically maneuvering 40 million of their citizens to go underground and as a test for what nobody really can say right now. There's no media over there that's going to tell you the truth. Our media sure won't tell you the truth. Our government sure ain't going to tell you the truth. But there's something going on afoot in Russia tonight. And, it's a dangerous time for our country. It's a dangerous time for America. It's a dangerous time for the world. And the last thing that we need to have is the American people not getting the truth. But that's the state of affairs in our nation right now, and it's sad. But anyway, I want to go to our second screen here where we usually go for our videos. And I want to pick back up tonight this James O'Keefe, who has been a very, very strong undercover reporter who's doing the work of the mainstream media. The mainstream media should be doing this, but they're not. And James O'Keefe has been doing it. And this is the same video. We got a second video we're going to show you in a little bit. But I want to play about 5 minutes of this video. This is from last night. And I want to show you this as we continue the narrative. This is what he was being told by Democratic operative Scott Koval, who was fired today. The other Richard Kramer that was on this video, he quote-unquote stepped down and stepped away from the political process after he was seen and shown on this video too, saying some pretty derogatory things about the process and what the Dems were up to and inciting violence at Donald Trump's rallies. But I want to pick this up at the 3-minute mark. If you haven't heard the podcast from last night, the first part of this is on that podcast. But listen to this as we pick it up here from last night about Democratic action and their role in inciting violence at Donald Trump rallies.
Goes and executes the shit on the ground. Democracy Partners is a private political consulting company with deep ties to Hillary Clinton,
deep ties to
White
Clinton,
House, and the Democratic National Committee.
We are the primary mechanism as a team. Democracy Partners.
That is Scott Koval right there. He got fired today.
Wherever Trump in.
Bob stepped aside yesterday after this came out.
And we have a whole team across the country that does that. Both consultants and people from the Democratic Party and the Democratic Party apparatus and people from the campaign, the Clinton campaign. My role with the campaign is to manage all that.
Not anymore, Bob.
Bob Kramer is Democracy Partners. He is the husband of Jan Schakowsky, a Democratic congresswoman from Chicago. And in 2005, he pled guilty to tax violations and bank fraud. He was convicted and sentenced to 5 months in prison.
Top class people, these Dems got it.
He founded Democracy Partners in 2011.
This is James O'Keefe's video, folks. We're listening in. Look at these.
Democracy Partners is kind of a group practice of a variety of consultants that do essentially a wide variety of different kinds of political consulting.
I work with Bob Kramer one-to-one all the time. I'm the white hat. Democracy Partners. Bob Kramer is diabolical, and I love him for it. Yeah.
This investigation
Bob Kramer is diabolical.
evidence of a dark money conspiracy, a violation of federal campaign coordination laws between Hillary Clinton's campaign, Priorities USA, Hillary's super PAC, and the Democratic National Committee.
We have a quick deliverable that we have to deliver every day for our groups of clients who are involved in these projects. AUFC, A4C, which is Alliance for Change, Alliance for Retired Americans, which is part of AFL-CIO. They're one of our partners on the AUFC stuff, for social security. Depends on the issue. And then there's the DNC and the campaigns and priorities.
All of Hillary's super
PACs.
PACs.
Part of this too. The campaigns and DNC cannot go coordinate with priorities that I guarantee you that the people who run the super PACs all talk to each other, and we and a few other people are the hubs of that communication.
Like, so you're kind of like intermediaries between the super PACs and the DNC.
That is illegal to do, folks, but they're doing it.
Talk to each other. Okay. But you guys are kind of like,
We're consultants, so we're not the official entity, and so those conversations can be had between
Breaking the law. Breaking the law.
parts.
okay.
That's why there's Bob, who's the primary there, and I'm a sub to him, and I'm also primary to
The FBI should be investigating this right
So
now,
there's like a
but they're
Morse
not.
code between the DNC and the super PACs.
And you guys
are
have a Morse code than it is a text conversation that never ends. It's like that. It's kind of like an ongoing Pony Express.
okay. So I mean,
That's not as efficient as it could be, but that's because the law doesn't allow it.
But the law does not allow them to do it, but they're doing it. Listen to this.
Is making sure there's a double blind between the actual campaign and the actual DNC and what we're doing. There's a double blind there. So that they can plausibly deny that they knew anything about it.
That's Hillary.
Fogle is Kramer's attack dog. Fogle and his people train the agitators to go to Trump rallies, and nothing is left to chance.
There's a script.
oh, there is a script.
There's a script.
Okay.
The script of engagement. Sometimes the crazies bite, and sometimes the crazies don't bite. They're starting confrontations in the line, right? They're not starting confrontations
The volunteers.
in the rally, because once they're inside the rally, they're under Secret Service's control. When they're outside the rally,
They're more effective out. They're harder to get in.
the media will cover it no matter where it happens.
The media will cover it no matter where it happens.
The conflict by having leading conversations with people who are naturally psychotic. Okay, I mean, honestly, it is not hard to get some of these assholes to pop off.
Right.
It's a matter of showing up to want to get into the rally in a Planned Parenthood t-shirt, or, you know, Trump is a Nazi. You know, you can message to draw them out and draw them to punch you.
Fogle boasts about the extent of his network of operatives.
Listen to this,
So
folks.
here, you have a schedule of events. We update this on an ongoing, rolling basis every morning.
Those are all the
Okay.
Trump appearances.
These are all the Trump and Pence appearances. Tomorrow, for instance, we are turning out 500 people in front of the Trump International in D.C.
This is what the Democrats are doing to Trump,
Prepared to go.
and they're bragging about it,
Are
and it's illegal, and Hillary knows about it.
central kind of agitator training.
Yep.
You know, we have a built-in group of people in New York who do this. We have a built-in group of people in D.C. who do
I was
this.
gonna say, are they
We
localized?
have a group of people in Vegas. We have a group of people in Colorado. We have a group of people in Minneapolis.
So I'm basically deputy rapid response director for the DNC for all things Trump on the ground.
This guy is Aaron Black. He works full-time for Kramer at Democracy Partners. He directs the spontaneous protests at Trump and Pence events. His real name is actually Aaron Minter. We don't know why he uses the name Black.
Nobody's really supposed to know about me. So the Chicago protest,
Listen to this.
shut all that was us. It was more him than me, but none of this is supposed to come back to us. Because we want it coming from people. We don't want it to come from the party.
Listen to what he just said, folks. We want it to come from the people. We don't want it to come from the party. Folks, this is the source of all the violence, of all the inciting, of the punching, the violence that threatened Donald Trump so badly in Chicago. Back in March, he had to shut down that event. Now, for those of you that do not understand this, and I don't mean this again to be mean and ugly, but there are some people out here that look at this and laugh this off, as even our own president does, and says there's no such thing going on as voter fraud or voter intimidation, or none of this is crooked or rigged. Folks, this is illegal. This is illegal. I heard Newt Gingrich last night on television. The FBI should be investigating this yesterday. There should have already been a case file opened up on this immediately. And again, had it not been for James O'Keefe, we would have known nothing about the backdoor deals that were going on that the Dems were doing to cause this stuff. And this guy saying this basically, it has to come, quote unquote, from the people, but not the party. But the truth is, folks, it's coming from the party. It's coming from Hillary Clinton. She's aware of this. They said that at the beginning of this. They plainly asked Bob Kramer. They said, does Clinton know about this? And he said, the quote was, she is all in. She is all in. So for her to all these people now to cut Scott Fogel loose and act like, well, he's not part of the Democratic machine, folks, that's not true. But this is a damnable indictment about the dirtiness of the politics of this race and what is going on right now to try to derail Donald J. Trump's candidacy and create the narrative that his people are the ones punching people in the face, his people are the ones that's on the edge, his people are the ones that have the bad temper, and you can't have free speech at a Donald Trump rally, when in fact these people are the ones inciting the violence and then playing the victim after it's done. And it's right here, caught on tape, in their own words, admitting to it without conscience. That's how dirty this race has gotten. And we got about 7 more minutes of this video. I'm going to hold on to that just for a second. I'm going to come back to that tomorrow. We're going to play the last part of that. But a second video came out tonight, and I want to just play the first few minutes of this, and I want you to listen to what James O'Keefe had to say today, because he released a second video as a sort of a sequel to this one. And I want to just go ahead and tell you the first sentence, the first few minutes of this video, when the Scott Fogel comes on, has got some pretty brutal language. We have a viewer warning. Pardon, it's not our intention to play it, but this is his words. This is how dirty these people are, and again, how hypocritical they are. They're complaining about Donald Trump's language, but I want you to listen to these Democratic operatives talk, and it's short of nothing than a sailor would talk about in a Navy room. So listen to it, and this is James O'Keefe. Second video came out today regarding the source of the Democratic convention or committee being at the root of the violence at Donald Trump rallies over the last 8 to 10 months. He was featured in yesterday's story and today's. He was fired today by Americans United.
You can fuck your mother in front of the government.
Excuses for that.
And not go to church.
That's him. This is illegal. This is something that can be done.
No, I'm going to tell this conversation second.
No.
Because this is...
No, absolutely. So,
Voter for all. Wait a minute. Wait. Let me stop that right there. Let me stop that right there. Let me just stop that right there. He just said that's voter fraud. And what did Mr. Obama mock Donald Trump yesterday for? He told Donald Trump that he was whining of the fact that the election was rigged and there was voter fraud. But yet his own Democratic operatives, in their own words, just told you this is voter fraud. It's illegal. We know it's illegal, but we know it can be done. Folks, that's why we must remain diligent in this election to voter fraud. That's going to be one of the scariest intangibles in this whole race, that most people will wake up shocked Wednesday morning about the election when we find out dead people and illegal voters and people that shouldn't have voted, and these blank holes, that what they're doing right now has ripped this election from Donald Trump when in fact the people wanted him to be elected. Let's listen on, and let's listen to more of this. Let me pull it forward to about right there and listen to this.
Was fear of retaliation and retribution from a future Hillary Clinton administration.
The news networks did not play this because of Hillary.
Especially when it challenges those in power. In this video, Democratic operatives tell us how to successfully commit voter fraud
Listen to this,
on a
folks.
massive scale.
Not for union guys? They'll do that.
oh yeah.
You want. They're rock and roll.
So I'm basically deputy rapid response director for the DNC for all things Trump on the ground. Nobody's really supposed to know about me.
No, I'm saying, we have mentally ill people who we pay to do shit. Make no mistake.
This guy named Cesar Vargas. Is his name?
I got a priest to cry on camera once.
You know, Brad, Bob, and Lux, and myself are all part of the old school method where it doesn't matter what the freaking legal and ethics people say. We need to win this motherfucker.
So
Sorry for the
Bob
language.
is really good friends with him, and talked to him this afternoon, and they're all in. If we can get 25 grand, they're all in.
Our investigators wanted to find out what it would take to get the highest favorable turnout. Democratic politico Scott Fovel was our target, and he was more than willing to lead us through the process of how to rig an election.
We did to them when we were in charge too. What we did? We did the exact same thing. Only we manipulated the vote.
Manipulated the vote with money and action, not with laws.
Not with laws. It's a very easy thing for Republicans to say, well, they're busting people in. Well, you know what? We've been busting people in to deep fucking assholes for 50 years.
Pardon the language, folks.
We're not going to stop now. We're just going to find a different way to do it.
They're just going to find a different way to do it this year.
I grew up with that idea. You know, they used to bus people out to Iowa. If we needed people out there, we bus people out to Iowa.
When we met Scott Fovel, he worked for People for the American Way, an organization funded in large part
George
by
Soros. There's George.
He now works for Americans United for Change. It's a nonprofit that claims to, quote, move America in a new, better direction, unquote. With guys like Fovel working for them, we wonder what direction that might be.
When I do this, I think you're an investigator firm.
Good, yeah, work backwards, yes. Yeah, that's great.
I used to do the investigation.
Yeah.
Different method. I think backwards from how they would prosecute if they could, and then try to build out the method to avoid that.
I'm playing this video for you, folks. We'll be talking about it in a minute.
Into another state to vote illegally.
They could invalidate. Well, okay, let's just say in theory, if a major investigation came up of major vote fraud that way, how would they prove it and who would they charge? Are they going to charge each individual? Are they going to charge each individual with voter fraud?
See, that's
Or are they going to go after the facilitator for conspiracy, which they can prove?
This is making me mad. Watch this, folks. And I hope it's making you mad out there in the American public tonight to go vote and to be diligent against this voter fraud. This is pathetic.
So it's the legality. Well, yeah. Because you can prove conspiracy if there's a bus.
Yeah.
If there are cars, it's much harder to prove.
And there's enough money.
If there's enough money.
President Obama told us yesterday, there's none of this going on. So stop whining, Donald Trump. Stop whining about it.
With Wisconsin license plates.
Absolutely. Well, you can't have them with Wisconsin license plates because rentals here, most of them don't have Wisconsin license plates. But there's these things called used car auctions. Used car auctions, the titles belong to some unknown company, they're company cars.
And you know, these are multiple employers. These are not all one employer.
Use shell companies.
Yeah.
Cars come from one company, the cars come from another. There's no bus involved, so you can't prove that it's en masse.
There you go.
So it doesn't tip people off.
And I'm going to have to stop it right there. We'll play more of this tomorrow night. That's 5 minutes into this 16-minute video. Both these videos are online. We're going to try to go ahead and post them all the way on the Mac Files. We may post the whole video on the Mac Files to let you listen to it separately in separate uploads. But folks, this should make us very, very, very angry tonight. This is happening in our country. And, you know, if what they're saying is true, who knows what election outcomes could have been changed over the last 2 election cycles, because look, they're bragging that they've been doing this. And they don't believe that any of this is wrong. They know it's illegal, but in their mind, it's okay to do it. Because in their mind, they're out to win. James O'Keefe did a hell of a job getting this out in the public and in the stream. And you need to be aware of it tonight, that it's going on, and it's going on in our faces. It's going on behind the scenes, and there's no accountability whatsoever for it by Hillary Clinton. She's all in. She knows it's going on. I'm not saying that. They're saying that. And I'm telling you this tonight, folks. If this lady who's about to get on this stage in an hour and a half can look in that camera and tell the American people tonight one thing why she wants to be president, I'll be shocked. because she's not told the country a damn thing about why she wants to be president. But yet we're hearing all of these efforts to become president, and this crookedness and this lawlessness and all of this effort that she's putting in through these organizations like this one to do that. And that should scare the hell out of every one of us tonight, why she wants to take control of our government. But unfortunately, her supporters don't seem to think it's that big a deal. They just don't seem to think it's that big a deal. All righty. I wished I had time. I want to show you this. We're probably going to lead with this tomorrow after the debate. Of course, we'll be talking about the debate tomorrow. But I want to just give you this right here to think about when you're looking at the condition of the country tonight as we enter this final debate. This is Saul Alinsky's 8 rules to take over a country. He called it Beware the Useful Idiots. Hillary did her college thesis on Saul Alinsky. Obama writes about him in his book. They both were mentors, or Alinsky was mentors to both Obama and Hillary. He died about 43 years ago, but his writings still control and influence the political mindset of our country. I want you to listen to this, because there are 8 rules that Saul Alinsky laid forth that he believed would create a social state in any nation, including that of America. I'm just going to read these real quickly, and then we'll talk more about them in detail tomorrow. Number 1, health care. Control health care, and you control the people. That's Obamacare. Poverty. Increase the poverty level as high as possible. Poor people are easier to control and will not fight back if you are providing everything for them to live. These are the words of Saul Alinsky. Obama has created a poverty state for 8 years among the black community. 22% unemployment rate. It has tripled since he's been in office in 8 years, the poverty rate among black Americans. Debt. Increase the debt to unsustainable levels. That way you are able to increase taxes, and this will produce more poverty. Since Barack Obama's been in office, nearly $10 trillion of debt has been accumulated on top of the $10 trillion we had before he come in. Folks, we're now at $20 trillion worth of debt. And that's a debt really that is unsustainable, and it will not be paid back anytime soon. And that's what's being passed on to the generation ahead of us and the next generation, if the Lord tarries, and the next. Gun control. Remove the ability to defend themselves from the government. That way, in addition to the social state, you're able to create a police state. Welfare. Take control of every aspect of humans' lives, their food, their housing, and their income. We're precariously close to this right now. Look at Michelle Obama's lunchroom initiatives. Look at the housing issue. Look at the income inequality in this country. And, you know, they always blame the rich for that. Folks, it's not the income inequality problem of the rich. It's the income inequality that the government has created in Barack Obama's policies. Education. Take control of what people read and listen to. Take control of what children learn in school. The Nazis did it in Nazi Germany. We're doing it today through Common Core. This is next one's a big one. Religion. Remove the belief in God from government and the schools. Folks, these comments that Clinton made about Catholics and Christians, she would have never made them in 10 million years. Dinesh said it last night in his video. These things that are being said about Christians and Catholics in the emails would have never been said about Muslims and Islam. But their goal is to take the Christian principle and the God of the Bible out of everything of the government and out of schools. Let me tell you this tonight. When the Founding Fathers instituted this separation of church and state, do you realize that that is a godly principle? Because we're supposed to keep the church separate from the state. But one thing we're not supposed to do is separate God from the state. We can't separate God from America and expect America to be blessed. And that's what's going on. And that was Alinsky's vision for a social and a state-run police state. Class warfare. This is big. You'll hear this tonight. You mark my word in Hillary Clinton's talking points. Divide the people into the wealthy and the poor. This will cause more discontent, and it will be easier to tax the wealthy with the support. The poor will support taxing the wealthy. When you hear the term tonight, fair share, it's from the Saul Alinsky Class Warfare Playbook. Does this sound familiar to you? It sounds very familiar of the last 8 years. And again, folks, if we want 8 more years of this or 4 more years or how many every years that she thinks, that's who you're going to vote for. It's Hillary Clinton. He basically simplified Vladimir Lenin's original scheme for world conquest by communism under Russian rule. Stalin described his converts as useful idiots. And folks, we've got useful idiots going to that voting poll on November the 8th and pulling that lever for Hillary Clinton. Because this is the kind of state and this is the kind of world that they evidently want. Donald Trump is saying we're not going to have that. And he's trying to stop it. But they're making it very hard on him right now. And I wish I had more time to deal with this. We'll come back to this tomorrow, but I wanted to read that to you. I do want to show you one thing by Robert Redford that he said last year. Somebody sent this to me today, and it's an interesting quote. He said this back in September. This was right as the time Donald Trump was beginning to gain a little momentum. And look, Robert Redford's a firebrand liberal, folks. This ain't some conservative saying this. But they asked him about Trump, and this is what he said. He says, I'm glad he's in there, because him being the way he is and saying what he says, the way he says it, I think shakes things up. And I think that's very needed. Because on the other side, it's so bland, it's so boring, and it's so empty. It's so bland, it's so boring, and it's so empty. And that is coming from the most liberal Hollywood director in the history of Hollywood directors and the history of Hollywood actors, Robert Redford. Folks, I wish I had more time tonight. I'd like to talk about what Trump said about term limits, and I'll just post it right here. It's huge, and he got mocked for it on CNN, and the bimbo that mocked him, she herself turned out looking like a complete bimbo and an idiot. And excuse my language for the bimbo comment, but that's exactly what she was acting like today. It was ridiculous. And we're going to talk about this tomorrow too, or one day this week. But Donald Trump has become the first presidential candidate ever to propose congressional term limits on congressmen and senators. And this individual, this citizen, applauds that, and I'm thankful that he's saying it, because I have always felt there needed to be a limit on the times these corrupt career politicians can run. And Donald Trump put it into words yesterday when he said we need to drain the swamp. And folks, we need to drain the swamp of these career politicians. We'll talk more about this tomorrow. We'll get more into these videos that are going on. Assange released some more emails today. We haven't had a chance to talk about that. I will swing over here to this third screen, and I just want you to know a few things that this is a good meme of the day right here. He says, if I were lying, no one would be trying to silence me, and that's the truth. And our government is trying to shut him up tonight, using Ecuador to cut his server off last night. And I'm just saying a prayer that he will get the truth out. And whether you agree or disagree with him releasing emails, that's up to you. But the truth is out there, and if the truth is out there and somebody's holding it, it needs to be revealed before this election takes place on November the 8th. And if the American public wants to listen to the truth and reject the truth, then we get what we deserve. We get what we deserve, and we will drink the bitter waters of a bitter 4 years with Hillary Clinton. And I can assure you, folks, it's going to be bitter. What I just read to you with the Saul Alinsky playbook, Obama, he basically wrote the opening chapters. Hillary's going to write the conclusion, and she will make sure that we're down in that path for good, and we may never come back if she gets hold of this White House come November the 8th. And that's what we're facing. And folks, that's a wrap for a Wednesday night. We are about an hour and 15 minutes away from the debate. I hope you get a chance to listen to it. I'm debating whether I'm going to be able to stomach it or not. I'm going to listen to some of it. We'll be back on. We'll be on a live feed on Facebook tonight. We'll have a wrap-up tomorrow of it, and we're going to get back on these other things. But I wanted to share with you more of this James O'Keefe video to show you the dirtiness and the ugliness and the evilness and the wickedness of the Democratic machine and this Democratic National Committee and the people that they are employing to do the things they're doing and to incite violence. Folks, inciting violence is a federal crime. You can go to prison for it. And the FBI tonight is completely silent. And we're going to talk about the FBI more tomorrow night. We'll probably have an extended podcast tomorrow and on Thursday, or on Friday, I should say. But it's some serious stuff, and we need to be diligent as a nation and understand that. We appreciate you joining us tonight. We hope you have a great Wednesday evening. And again, our prayers for our nation tonight, our prayers for Donald Trump and his performance tonight. We do pray for him. Folks, I pray for Hillary. I'm not sure how I need to pray for her sometimes, but I think we need to pray for both of them. But we need to make sure that we make the choice that's the best for the nation. In my opinion, my humble opinion, that choice is Donald Trump. And I've got no qualms about it, have no problem voting for him, and I'm gladly voting for him. And I think that, again, we may have one that is carnal, but we got another one that's demonic. And whereas he has been humble enough to say, I'm sorry, she's never said I'm sorry for a damn thing, and she don't plan to. And that's that. And I leave you tonight with the words of Donald Trump one more time.
You know, it's just awfully good that someone with the temperament of Donald Trump is not in charge of the law in our country.
Because you'd be in jail.
Secretary Clinton.
You be in jail, Hillary. You be in jail. Folks, that's a wrap on a Wednesday night. Godspeed, God bless America. We love you guys. Have a great one. We'll see you post-debate tomorrow. Have a great Wednesday, everybody. Good night.
The government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish.
Of the people, by the people, for the people.
And that government of the people, by the people, and for the people shall not perish from the earth.